Morning, everyone. You're watching Izzy in Christ. This is actually a miracle. Well, I got cured a long time ago. I'm finally doing this video. I think I might have mentioned in other videos before, I don't remember now, but that I had something called delayed sleep phase syndrome. And this is the story all about how God cured me. This is honestly a miracle, like for me to be awake in the morning, recording a video or doing anything at all, because there was a time I really couldn't do that. Like my life was such a mess. And I'm just amazed that this is really my life now. Like I can't thank God enough for how much has changed for me. But anyway, I'll get right to it because this is quite long. I might have to do a part 2, but we'll see. I'll try to see how much I can condense in one whole video. So just please bear with me. Okay, so at 11 years old was when I started having sleep issues. I noticed that at that age, like I was getting to sleep at abnormally late hours, and everybody else was going to sleep at fairly reasonable hours, you know, like, I don't know. I mean, my sisters, whatever, like they went to bed whenever they wanted because they were older than me, but you know, they were still able to wake up at reasonable hours the following day. And for whatever reason, for me, it was a big struggle. But they went to bed whenever they wanted, you know, like they could, if they wanted to go to bed at like 10, 11 o'clock at night, they could. I couldn't do that. I was getting to bed at some time after midnight, and even if I wanted to go to bed at like 9, 10 o'clock, I couldn't. So, and as I got older, it didn't get any better, especially in high school. But before that, like at 11 o'clock, at 11 years old, I went to a psychiatrist with my mom. And, you know, we told him what was going on because I told my mom and everything. I was like, Mom, I don't know what's going on. I can't sleep. And she was like, okay, we're going to go to a therapist. We're going to go see what's going on with you and whatever. And we went to the psychiatrist, and like, he was awful. He like, it was very obvious to me he didn't believe anything I was saying. And it just seemed like he thought like I just didn't want to be at school because, yeah, it was getting in the way of me being able to get to be on time to school. So his whole thing was, okay, well, he pretty much dismissed me and gave me like sleeping pills, essentially. Like they were antidepressants that were sleep inducing. And he didn't even seem to care that I was only 11 years old, and didn't seem to think about how that could affect me neurologically later on. But, you know, I mean, I was happy. I thought, okay, well, I guess this is like the magic fairy coming and bing, just solving my problem. Because, you know, if they worked, they worked. And I got to sleep, and I could go to school the next day, and there was no problem. But that's not how it worked. It didn't work. It didn't, like, I saw little to no improvement. Like, it did somewhat help me sleep, but waking up was still a problem. And yeah, like over time, like it stopped having that effect. Like I wasn't able to, like even with taking them, I wasn't getting to sleep. And I took them for years. And then like when I got to high school, I mean, I was changing back and forth from like different drugs at the time, like these sleep inducing drugs, and like there was no improvement. If anything, it was actually getting worse. But I really think there were other factors involved, although that will be a story for another day. And it just kept disrupting things at school for me. And like, by this point, like I kept, you know, they had me like on like different ones. They kept changing them. I was on several different kinds. It was clonazepam that I can remember, Paxil, at one point they even had me on citalopram. I think that was the last one I was taking. I don't remember, like maybe that's not how you say the name correctly, because I think recently somebody was telling me, oh, that's not how you say it. I was like, really? I don't know. But I remember that it was something along the lines of that, citalopram. But again, it was the same thing. Like they would start working for a bit, then they would stop, and it was just like, no matter what I did, it didn't seem to work. So one of the things that I used to do is I used to try to reset my sleep clock, and I used to just do this thing where I used to pull all-nighters, because I noticed my sister would do it and it helped her. So I was like, okay, so I guess it'll help me. And like, it didn't last long for me, like maybe for like a week, 2 weeks the most. I was able to get to sleep at a somewhat reasonable time, and then it would just fall off. Like it would just be like, okay, well, I guess that wasn't all that helpful. And then like in high school, like I was getting to sleep at like 2 a.m. on a good night. And this is like what I mean by it was getting worse, because at 11 years old, I don't think this was happening. I don't remember. I was getting to bed after 12 midnight, but on a good night in high school, I was getting to sleep at like 2 in the morning. And then on a really bad night, it would be anywhere between 4 and 6 in the morning, which was really hard because I had to be at school the next day. So like I was getting to sleep when I was hearing people's alarm clocks going off, people getting in the shower. I could hear people getting up. I could hear the birds outside. The people's car engines like were going off because they were just getting, you know, I guess they were all going to work or whatever. And then sometimes if I was lucky, I could see the sun coming up. That was really hard. Nobody had any idea that I was dealing with this. Or, I don't know, it's like they couldn't fathom it. And I just thought, well, I have to be at school in a bit. I don't know what to do. But then if I fell asleep, I didn't really wake up the next day till really late. And that caused all other kinds of problems. So fast forward, at 18 years old, so that would have been like, was that 12th grade now? Anyway, I went to the doctor at that point, because at that point, actually, yeah, like, I think it would have been my last year of high school that, yeah, like the teachers, the you know, the principal, they were all giving up on me. And they were basically saying, hey, you know what? You need to figure out what your problem is. We can't keep you coming to this school if you're not going to be on time and all this other stuff. You should maybe try doing school through correspondence, et cetera, et cetera. And I was just so gutted because I really wanted to graduate. I really just wanted to go to school like everybody else. And I was excited to be graduating from this school, but it just wasn't going to happen at this rate. Anyway, I was 18 and I was just so frustrated. I was just so done with like all the nonsense, with all the changes of prescriptions and just feeling like a failure. So I said, okay, I'm gonna try to figure this out myself. And at 18, I went to the doctor myself and I tried to see if there was other help available. The all-nighters weren't working, the pills weren't working, and this was causing serious problems for me in school. I didn't want to leave school. I loved school, and at that point, I mean, people didn't realize, but I really did like school. I was enjoying myself there. I mean, as much as I could, obviously. And yeah, I was getting fired from jobs as well, like, which is why I couldn't understand why people weren't believing me. Like, who would put themselves deliberately through that kind of humiliation? Like, it was already embarrassing enough to get fired over something stupid, but getting fired because I can't sleep? Like, what? Like, really, who would go out of their way to make themselves look like a failure? I just I couldn't fathom that. And then, yeah, management and companies, they would, you know, like, it was obvious they didn't care. They would say things, very obnoxious things like, well, we have a business to run. It's like, you show up for the shifts on time, or yeah, see you later, basically. But I mean, I will say that there were a couple of places that, you know, like had managers that did try to help me because they knew something was going on, or at least they cared enough to try to help me, whether they believed me or not. I mean, I think they did believe me if they tried to help me, but, and even then I still struggled. Like, it was hard for me to be on time. And then, yeah, like not being able to graduate high school really hurt. It was really hard because I was just like, the sleep thing had gotten so bad that I was just completely incapable of getting to school on time. Like, it was impossible. I was beside myself because I really didn't know what to do. I mean, teachers said really hurtful things. People at school said really hurtful things. You know, even my family, they said really mean, hurtful things when I was going through this. And I was really depressed. Like, I didn't know what I could do. Sorry, my hair is tickling my face. Yeah. And so, yeah, like it was really a struggle for me. And like, I dreamed about graduating and feeling successful. It was really hard to go through that. I mean, I did eventually, like later on, like I did eventually go back to school and complete school. And, you know, I mean, it felt great, but it didn't exactly fix my problem, right? So anyway, my family doctor sent me to a sleep clinic and they told me I had DSPS, which is delayed sleep phase syndrome. I thought, finally, a diagnosis. But then again, you know, their solution to the problem was, oh, here are some pills that will help you sleep. So I was right back at square one. It's like, this is really their best solution? I thought to myself, why don't they have something better? I couldn't understand it. Then like the following year in like 2005, that was the year I became a Christian. And you know, I was like, I can't do this anymore. Like, these pills aren't doing anything. Like, I was just so done. I was like, I can't anymore. So I stopped taking them. I just said, you know what, I can't, I'm not doing this anymore. And at this time, like, I was still seeing that same, well, no, not that same psychiatrist. I was going to that same clinic, but I was seeing someone else at this point. And he had me on Wellbutrin for anxiety, which at the time I was told was pretty new. But when I was taking them, like at that age, like at first it wasn't really affecting me. I really didn't know what they were doing, to be honest. All I knew is that they were some kind of antidepressant to help me with anxiety. And then like sometime later, he increased the dose. And I felt awful after that. I was crying for no reason. I was extremely anxious. Everything was just getting under my skin and I couldn't figure out why. Then I went back to him and he explained that he had increased the dosage. Supposedly it was supposed to increase my anxiety, but it was supposed to help me sleep better, which to this day, I still don't understand why he thought that made any sense. I was confused even then. And I think, yeah, that was the point in time when I was just like, yeah, you know what? No, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm done with these pills. I don't want to take anything anymore. And at that point in time, he recommended, because he couldn't prescribe it, he recommended melatonin, which you could get over the counter. And yeah, so I you know, thought I would take a chance. He gave me, I remember he gave me an article and like, I kept it on my bed for the longest time. And I was just like, I don't know. Like, I was thinking about it. Like, by this point, I was just so tired of taking pills. I was so tired of just experimenting with my body like this and nothing was happening. So I was just like, great, one more pill. Awesome, you know, but I didn't take it right away. But when I finally did decide to take it, I think something like a year later, maybe, I don't remember how long after like I took it, but yeah, I didn't take it right away. And so like I started taking it. And at first it didn't really have like any effect on me. He said that it did need to build up in my system. So I was like, maybe that's why. And then, yeah, sure enough, like, I think it was just a couple days that I started noticing like changes. Like I was only taking like the 1 milligram. And yeah, it helped me for sleep, but then waking up, like I felt super groggy. Other people said good things about it, but that wasn't exactly my experience. But at the time, it was the best I had. It wasn't, you know, like it worked no matter what. Like, yeah, I still had moments where it wasn't great. Like it didn't really do much. So what I did is I increased the dosage because I didn't realize there was 3 milligram. Then there was 10 milligram. And I was just like, I think I'm going to stick to 3. And then 3 was just a little too intense for me. I was waking up with headaches and stuff. So I went back down to, well, I went to like, I would cut the 3 milligram in half, and that was, I guess, okay. But I still felt groggy the next day. I stuck to it, until I thought like, okay, well, until something better comes along, I guess I'll take this for now. It's working. Well, yeah, again, I was just so sick and tired of taking pills, and I just couldn't, you know, but again, it wasn't really fixing my problem because the circadian thing was still a thing. Like it was still, you know, like I was still not able to wake up at reasonable hours or get to sleep at reasonable hours, hence not being able to wake up the next day at a reasonable time either. And yeah, I gave up for a while, and just decided to work nights. Then, I worked retail jobs and fast food restaurants, and like I'd be finishing work on average at like 2 o'clock in the morning, because I stuck to the fast food one for the longer time because I thought, okay, well, this is a later schedule, so I'll just do the fast food one. And so I did that, and I would work until like 2 in the morning, and it didn't faze me. Other people that I worked with, though, I noticed that like by 11 o'clock at night, they would start getting tired. Some of them, like, honestly, they didn't want to be getting home they didn't want to be leaving anything later than 11 o'clock, which I thought, was like, really? They get tired that quickly, that easily? Like, to me, it was just strange because I was so used to just being awake all hours of the night. So yeah. But anyway, so 2005, I became a Christian, and I was lukewarm for many, many years. It wasn't until 2016 that I fully just decided to stop living a double life. Like I stopped having one foot in the world and one foot in God. I just said, you know what? Okay, I've tried it my way. I tried this like half-baked Christianity, and it just isn't working. And I didn't do this, mind you, I didn't do this because of my sleep thing. I did it because I was genuinely not happy with how I was handling things as a Christian. And I had so many idols. That was the year, 2016 was the year I got baptized. Sorry, I keep scratching my face. I really should have worn a hair scrunchie or something. Yeah, so that was the year I got baptized. It was at this point in my life that I realized like how many idols I really had. It was a hard lesson to learn. And like seeing all my idols crumble as well, like was really hard, but it needed to happen. Like that whole experience made me realize just how much I really needed God. And then, of course, some months after that, I don't know if it was before I got baptized or maybe after I got baptized, but it was around that time. But, and I noticed that like I would be at work, and like around 11 o'clock at night was when I would start feeling tired randomly. Like I would start yawning, and I'd be like, oh, well, that's kind of odd, but I shrugged it off. I dismissed it because during the time when I was dealing with my sleep syndrome, like I still, like I would get tired. I would have those instances where I would get tired, and like I even had good nights where I was like, oh good, I'm tired at 11 o'clock at night or whatever time it was. I'm gonna capitalize on this and just go to bed. And I would do it, and then it was great. but then it would just go back to what it was before. And so it was just like, there was really nothing I could do. It was just like, okay, well, it was good while it lasted. And then, yeah, but then I started noticing that it was starting to happen more consistently, which to me was really weird because that didn't happen. Like before that, like that was not a thing. And so I didn't even know what to make of it. I shrugged it off because I was like, okay, well, I don't know. I don't know what to make of this. And then, yeah, things got really toxic at my job. So I decided, okay, I think it's honestly time to go. So I quit, and then I started working in retail. Like, I guess one can consider fast food restaurant retail of some kind, but I don't know. But when I say retail, I mean like I was not working with food anymore because I was just sick and tired of working with food. So I started working for this place called Wine Rack. They sold wine, and yeah, like the manager there, she was understanding and she was willing to give me mostly night shifts. But there were times she had to give me day shifts, which I was like, oh no, here we go. I was like, I'm probably gonna get fired because I'm not gonna be able to make it on time for those shifts. But to my surprise, I was making it on time for these shifts. And I was like, wow, I was waking up, I was hearing my alarm clock, because that was the other thing I was worried about. I'm not gonna be able to get to sleep at a reasonable time, and I don't know what I'm gonna do. So I did, I don't know, I guess I did sleep at reasonable hours. I don't really remember if I did, but yeah, waking up the next day was not as hard as I thought it was going to be. Yeah, I felt groggy, I felt tired, whatever, but I was able to make it to the morning shifts, and I was shocked. I was like, really? And I think that was the point I started to realize, I think God cured me. But you know, I still doubted because I was like, what if this is just by fluke, and then like tomorrow, like something stupid happens and then I end up getting fired? Like, but yeah, I had that anxiety for like probably a couple months, and I was just like, there's no way, like I'm cured now. And but I mean, the proof was in the pudding. It was right there. Like I was getting to bed at these times and waking up at these times, and I was just like, wow, this is truly incredible. I couldn't believe it. Then and then later, fast forward, like I had all these like call center jobs, because that's really what I wanted to try doing. I wanted to try working in an office. I just wasn't sure I was capable of it because of my sleep thing. Plus I had never worked in an office before. And so it was just a bunch of things that I was like scared of. And so I tried it. And I remember at one point, I had to be at like one of my call center jobs at like 7 in the morning. And I was just like, there's no way I'm gonna get fired. There's just no way. But to my surprise, I was waking up at 4 o'clock in the morning. I mean, yeah, I was getting to bed at like 7, 8 o'clock at night so that I could be waking up at 4 in the morning, which I was like, this is not going to be possible for me. And I'm still shocked to say that I made it out on time for each and every one of those shifts, except for one, but it had nothing to do with my sleep. It was because there was a train delay, and like, I live in Toronto, so like most people, like a lot of people here don't drive. So I had to take the train to get to work. And so, yeah, I was late because of that, but it had nothing to do with me not being on time or whatever. Like me and one of the girls I was working with at the time were late. So anyway, I digress. Yeah, so I have no, like, I have like no other explanation. You know, sometimes I ask myself, I mean, is it just possible this just kind of naturally happened? But guys, I tell you, 20 years, I went through this. Like I counted it all, like after, like I calculated it, like 20 years, I went through this. Like there's no way that this just by fluke, okay, well, it just randomly up and went away and, you know, like now I'm normal. Like, no, this was a miracle. I never expected that I would ever encounter something like this. And this is why I do believe in the healing that God can do in your life. I mean, I know that there are instances in scriptures where Jesus didn't heal everybody. And I believed that that was my case because 20 years, right? Like it was just trial and error, frustration after frustration. It was just like problem after problem. And I just really felt like, okay, well, this isn't going anywhere. Like I gave up at one point. And then it was only when I really just submitted my life completely to Christ that I guess he honored that, and he took this problem away from me. And now I can work any shift I want in the mornings if I wanted to. Like, I can wake up as early as I want. You know, sometimes like I even go to bed at like, well, I don't do this often, but when I do go to bed at like past 2, I'm still able to wake up early in the morning. Sometimes without an alarm clock even, which is like, I never imagined I was ever going to experience that. God is still in the business of healing people. And so maybe that's got to be your story too. Maybe you've got to submit your life completely to him in order for him to start making miracles happen in your life. You know, it isn't about being a good Christian. It isn't about being good enough. It's just about loving him and wanting more of him. And that's all I wanted at that time. I mean, I was just being silly in so many ways. Like, I was just living, like I said, a double life. And I guess I'll get into those stories later because this video is almost 30 minutes long. And if you stayed around like this long to watch this testimony, thank you. Thank you for sticking around. I really do appreciate you for doing that. And I pray that it blessed you. I pray that, you know, this is something that you will consider if you're ever feeling like, oh, God would never heal me of this problem or that problem. Yes, he would. If it's in his divine will for your life to be cured, then he will cure you. He will heal you. Maybe it's just a question of timing. Maybe it's just a question of, you know, just submitting to him completely. At least that was the case for me, it seemed. So I praise God. I honestly praise God. And like I said, I can't thank him enough for everything that he's done in my life. Anyway, I realize this video was long enough. I pray that this blessed you. I pray that you all have a wonderful day. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.